So this is a relatively big moment, first attempt at doing some gluing tonight. Got my little scales, got a clean pot, got some test pieces there, not quite a shot, got a brush, yeah, got some materials, and the West epoxy materials. I've got a little clock that hopefully will help me out a bit in terms of timings. So yeah, so intention is to glue these, a couple of these two together. Oh, I need some clamps. It's a gentle clamping, so I've got some small clamps. I'm going to use one of these. This one's a bit heavy actually, maybe. I got one that I salvaged off a clothes hanger. So the idea is, the first thing they want us is clean, dry and sanded. So we need to basically make sure these are clean, which they are. We're going to make sure they're dry, which they are, and we need to just abrade the surface so that the glue has a bit of a key. Now they say 80 grit, I'm not quite sure what this is, but for this test I think it'll be okay. It's relatively coarse stuff, so I'm going to do that. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. Get those prepared like that. This is quite a big thing. This is going to be the first time that I've ever glued anything to anything else as a part of this project. It's going to be bigger when I'm actually doing when I actually glue the spar, then that's going to be more of a deal, but for very valid reasons I thought it would be good to do some test pieces first, just to see what I get, and also to make any mistakes I'm going to make. So the ends of the pieces that are facing away from me are the ones that actually I'm going to do the gluing on. Right, so that's all good. Now for the 105 with the 206 hardener, I want a 5-to-1 ratio, so that's a kilo in there, and this is 0.2 of a kilo, so these are already essentially in the right proportions. It's slightly odd because this container is it's only about a third full. I suppose that's just the way that that's the size that they put the stuff into. I'm going to need to get some more of this. So I'm going to work in terms of weight. Now, according to the instructions, the relative parts per weight is 1 to 5, and that's the same as the volume. So we have to assume from that the relative density of these two things is broadly similar. It's not always the case that that's the same. On some of the different materials, actually the weight and the volume is markedly different. So 5-to-1. So let's see. Right, I'm going to be sensible and get some eye protection and gloves on. Right, eye protection on. You'll have to trust me on that. And gloves on, because I don't really know what this stuff does. Oh yeah, free scoop, that's helpful. Right, I haven't actually even looked inside here. Okay, right, so this stuff looks like, this is the filler, and it just looks like that. Okay, so, right, so they want, if I turn this on with that on there, I think that automatically zeros, yeah. Okay, so here we go, 5:1, so let's say, I've put this stuff down to predict what's going to happen when is this going to drip everywhere? Answer yes. Need a bit of material to put that on. Not quite a big piece of. I'm going to put something down so that any drips run. There we go. Right. Okay. So first of all, let's try and do. Alright. So it's quite runny stuff. Alright. Oh God. Okay. So let's say, well, that's a bit more than it's going further than I thought it would. Right, 15.8 grams there. So that's, so if I top that up to, so that's 5 threes, if I top that up to 18 with this stuff, I just overdid it a bit there. Right, so that's, that's more, the weight of that went up a lot more quickly than I expected. Right, so now they say I need to mix. Right, so while I'm mixing, well, these quantities are small. Right, so I'm starting to learn something already. I think working with this kind of tiny quantity is probably not very going to work. I'm not sure it's going to work very well to work with such small quantities, but we'll see. So, I mean, it was a rough mix, so it wasn't very accurate. So I probably need to be more accurate. So they say mix it for 2 minutes. So I'll just set my thing going while I'm talking. The idea with this is that the first thing you do, it's a 2-part gluing process. So so mix this for 2 minutes, get it thoroughly mixed, and then the first thing you do is you wet the joint on both sides with this glue as neat as it comes, and then you mix the filler in and you apply the filler to one side only, and then you stick it. So the idea with that is that the neat stuff is nice and runny and it soaks into the wood, and then so that kind of creates a continuous, I suppose, a continuous surface of resin into the pores in the wood that you just created by sanding it, and then you mix the gloopy stuff up, which is a bit more gap filling, and I suppose you apply that to one side only, just so that you don't just have the stuff shooting out all over the place. But then, so you've basically got wooden resin, resin and filler, resin, wooden resin, and all of that sets hard and forms a continuous joint between the two pieces, I assume. So, right. Well, that's been a couple of minutes of mixing. Right, has that got warm? It says it gets warm. I can't really feel it, but okay. Right, so I'm going to start working the neat stuff into this wood here. So we've got this side, I'll do that end of it. I'll do about a couple of inches of the end of each. Okay, so let's painted that on reasonably thoroughly. Right, so my scales have gone off, or I've just turned them off, which means I've lost my datum, which is a bit frustrating. So maybe I need to take a note, just in case I do that again. I need to take a note of the weight of my container. But actually, I'm not sure whether the amount of filler is actually super critical. It just needs to be the right consistency. Right, so I'm painting both sides of these with neat blue. Not sure if it's starting to go a bit stiffer already, is it? Maybe not. Right, I'm kind of working that in as best I can. Okay, right, now, so what's next? Filler. What happens if I put that back on there? Take 1 to 0, so that's zeroed itself out again. Well, never mind. Alright, so I want this to be the consistency of mayonnaise, which is, according to the guidance, approximately 7%. I don't know what that looks like, so I'm going to have to God, this stuff looks like it could completely kill you if you've got it in your lungs. So I started off with 15 grams, so 2 more grams. Let's see how that works. Right, so I'm mixing. So this is the filler stuff. It's incredibly fine. Wow, that's really adding some volume as well. So what I'm aiming for is British standard mayonnaise. Okay. I don't know if that's is that mayonnaise? Does mayonnaise look like that? I could be persuaded. Maybe a little bit more. Wow, this is interesting. I'm really glad I did this. I'm really glad I had a test run at this first. I'm going to be interested to see how strong these test pieces are actually. So what my intention is to do these and then do a test break tomorrow, see what happens. Right, I'm not sure I'm going to get much benefit from mixing that any further, so I'm just going to gloop this stuff in. So that's my one side. This is going to go everywhere by the time I actually squidge it together. Right, okay, so here we go. Got two parts here. thoroughly wetted, put them together. Right, well, that's glued a fair amount. I don't know if that's too much pressure or... Just tidy up the edges a little bit there. Right, that's one. Let's do the other one. God, it seems like it goes a really long way, this stuff. I mean, that's feels pretty wasteful. That I've only made a few grams of it, and it's I've still got like looks like pretty much a whole pot left in there. Right, so here we go. One side. Squash that on there. I'm using all my little improvised clamps. Again, it feels... So, I don't know, there we go. So you've got a nice big fillet of glue on the side there. Right, well, there we go. So that's that. Tempted to try and find something else to just use this glue up on, just to see what happens as much as anything. I've got some old cast off pieces of ply here from the clock project. Oh, sorry, that let the cat out of the bag, didn't it? Well, maybe I'll try and see what I get if I try and glue those together as well. So I need to get some 80 grit paper and right. So I'm going to rough this up. As they advise you to do. I'm going across the grain, see if that makes a difference to it. And then right. Right, so I've done that and that. So I'm going to just try and make these two together. So what I'm doing here is not actually strictly compliant, is it? Because I'm not really doing the wetting technique very well here. I'm just doing a layer of epoxy sort of directly right. So I believe that the gap filling properties that are lent to the glue by the filler may not be quite so important for particularly for the kind of joint that I'm about to do, which is a scarf joint where the mating surfaces have been relatively carefully I say machined is the wrong word, isn't it? Milled or whatever. So there shouldn't really be too much of a problem with gap filling. Right, so that's that. Let's see. Probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to squash these two together. Get another clamp. Squash, of course, being a technical term. Right. this clamp's a bit more aggressive than the other ones, so we'll see what happens with that, because I think if you use too much pressure, because it like old school gluing stuff together technique involves just squishing the hell out of stuff, all in my head anyway. You just clamp it as hard as you can. It's almost like you feel like you're imbuing the joint with more strength just because you squash it together and kind of dare it to come apart. But that's not how this stuff works. You don't want to squeeze all the glue out from between the two mating surfaces. Right, well, there's a whole load of glue in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take you out of here. So apologies. This is turning into a bit of a long one in one take. There we go. So this is my improvised oven for cooking the joints. Inside there is a oil heater. This is shonky as hell, so don't do this at home. This is a thermostat with a plug at one end and a socket at the other. That thermostat's going to go into that box, and I'm going to connect it up to the oil radiator. So this is set to 20 degrees. So the plan is that that's going to maintain 20 degrees inside that space, and we should be good. So I'll probably just do that now, and I'll bring you back in. I don't want this to get too long. There's my test pieces. I chucked the pot in, thermostat's there, glue pot's there, test piece there, 2 test pieces here, a test piece that I didn't sand, I've just slapped it in. I just want to explore the different kind of, whether I can see any noticeable difference between the wetting process and the non-wetted one here, which was sanded, and a non-wetted one here that wasn't sanded. Obviously I'm going to follow the proper procedure on any joints that I do, but I just wanted to see whether the difference in the mechanical properties was obvious. So now what I need to do, thermostat's now plugged into, you maybe can't see it, but the thermostat's plugged into the heater that's sitting inside the box. So I'm going to pop that on top of everything. So the thermostat should attempt to maintain 20 degrees inside here all night. And yeah, and that's us. So I'm just going to leave it overnight now and see what I get in the morning. Okay, thanks so much. I'm going to probably post this one up just to give a bit more evidence of some sort of progress happening on the aeroplane front. Thanks very much for watching, and catch you on the next one. It's Thursday, 22nd of April, and I've been sticking stuff together. Right, so this is my improvised oven. Let's see, this has been held at 20 degrees for probably the best part of a day. Let's look at what we got. Well, that's solid. And these are some of the test pieces I did the other day, right? So that's, wow, that is solid, man. Crikey. So this is the one that's these I didn't really do the wetting technique. I just did just glued them together. I'm just going to see what we've got. Well, this one stuck itself down to the actual. Oh dear! I just pulled a bit of my build table off. Okay. Well, that is what it is, and then there's this. So they're a bit interesting. They haven't dried clear. I think it's like I was kind of expecting it to be like araldite that kind of goes clear, but it's hard. It's hard, really hard. I can barely push my nail into it. Right, okay, let's stop this there, and I'll just go to the vise and see if we can just see what they look like when they break. So apologies for the slightly awkward slightly awkward angle. I'm just going to check. There you go. Right, you can see what I'm doing. Right, let's try this one first of all. See whether I can actually see what happens when I break this. Right, I'm going to use some. This is probably not the most scientific method, but I'm just going to use some mole grips to grip this. See what. Okay. Jesus Christ. Right, well. Well, that's a reasonable endorsement of, I think, West Epoxy. I'm not sure what to say about that. So, well, in that instance, the glue joint was stronger than the material that it was gluing. That's what you say about that. Let me try again. I'm not sure if maybe that I'm just trying to break this in the wrong way, but I can't really think of it. Yeah, I mean that's just failing. Okay, well I'm not all right with that. So that was without using the two-part technique. Right, let's try this. This is again without using the two-part technique, and see if I can see what happens if I try and break this. So that's where the joint is. I'm going to try and get as close as possible to the joint and see what. Right. I'm not sure what I'm proving here. Like I'm not. Nothing bad's happening, but I'm not sure. Am I not? Right. I'm going to try and shear this. I don't want to hurt myself. Like, right. Okay. That's more like it. Well, that's interesting. So that shear, that was under shear load, so I was twisting. And what looks like it's happened is basically the wood's broken again. It's just torn out the wood. Okay, so this is probably the closest to what I'm going to be gluing first on the aircraft, which is it's a scarf joint, so it's going to be like a lapped together joint like this, albeit one that tapers and sort of forms a continuum. This one's got some extra material there. I'm going to keep this one to show my inspector, I think, and I'm going to try and can you still see this? I'm going to try and see what happens if I try and break this. Yeah, that's breaking the material. That's breaking the wood again. Let me just put this in the so I don't want to. I just think I'm gonna. Okay. Well, look, I think I'm convinced. Yeah. Right. So. Again, the material's failing before the glue joint is. So, I can't smell it. It's completely inert. Well, I'm going to call that a win. I think. I'm going to send some photos to my inspector as well, but. I can't really think of any reason why that isn't a good result. I suppose it is an issue if, yeah, the way the stress is carried. Maybe if you have, I mean, but if you're gluing a scarf joint, I assume because of that tapered effect, the way the material laps together, you're going to be, you know, the glue joint is going to feed in gradually, and yeah, I don't think you're going to get a stress concentration, and wood doesn't really work like that. I'm all right with that. Christ, I think that's okay. Anyway, it's not for me to say. So I've got my inspector. I'll show my inspector one part. This one here, I haven't done anything with that, so that's for him to see. I'll date that, put it in a bag, and I'll take some photographs and send them to him. There you go. Yeah, and I'll get this posted. God, this has taken a while. Apologies for the length of this video. I need to learn how to edit. All right, thanks very much, everyone, and I'll speak to you. Yeah, well, I will probably just ramble again to you soon. Bye.